You're listening to a CNA podcast.
We live in an era where every time we go onto Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, we get ads. Quite often, they're fashion brands. And you would definitely have come across Shein because they're one of the biggest advertisers in the fast fashion game. While a few clicks land us that dreamy summer dress, there's a downside to how clothes are fast becoming fleeting purchases, bought today, thrown away tomorrow. And this increased consumption does have an impact on the environment. In this edition of our Sustainability Chief series, we have with us today Adam Whinston, the Global Head of Sustainability at Shein. As the largest online-only fashion retailer in the world, we want to find out how Shein is boosting its sustainability goals as the fashion industry faces pressure to address its impact on the environment. Well, Adam, welcome to the Climate Conversations.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Adam, to kick things off, let's take a step back to a few years ago. I believe it was 2021 when you joined Shein. The company was facing some controversies over labor practices and sustainability, and it must have been quite tough to navigate that. Could you tell us what motivated you to take on the challenge?
Yeah, well, I joined Shein because I saw an opportunity to build on the low-waste production model that has made the company so successful and to, create a social and environmental sustainability strategy and programs that support local communities where we work and source and live and, to preserve the planet. So we're still early on in our sustainability journey, but we're making fast progress.
This could be a personal question, but on the scale of, let's say, 1 to 10, with 1 being highly sustainable and 10 being not very sustainable, you've been in the sustainability space for a long, long time. So when you first joined, how would you have rated Shein's sustainability level then? And has it changed much since then?
Well, Shein has at its core an on-demand business model, which has made it so successful. But that on-demand business model really allows it to reduce the waste that is so endemic in the industry. And the way that Shein works is, we're able to offer our customers a lot of variety and show them a lot of variety on our website. But behind each and every one there's only a very small amount of production. And it's only once the customer tells us that they like that style that we then go ahead and purchase a larger quantity. So what that does is eliminates a lot of the overproduction that occurs in the industry. And through our purchasing practices, we don't have to order tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of units up front, before we're even able to test the demand. We're able to order what we need, and we're able to respond to the demand of the customer in the quantities that they want. So in that respect, the company is very sustainable. And, I'd give it very high marks. There are other ways in which the company need to increase in our sustainability, just like any company needs to do. In some things they're great, and other things they have work to do. One of those areas, I think, and we've set targets around the amount of recycled polyester, for example, that we're going to be using in our products.
Okay.
We've set a goal of having 31% of our polyester-based products be coming from recycled polyester by 2030. Those types of things will put us on a trajectory, have put us on a trajectory for responding to the areas of our business where we still need to make progress.
I find it very interesting. Let's talk about making clothes. You mentioned that Shein has a sustainable approach to manufacturing because the company doesn't overproduce clothes. But what's your definition of overproduction?
Well, overproduction, I define as when a company is over-ordering, beyond what the customer is asking for. So that's a common industry practice because of minimum order quantities and the relationship that a brand or retailer has with its suppliers. They have to order large quantities. And what the industry research tells us that those quantities can be, 30 to 40% more than the demand that actually exists for that product. That is a standard model for overproduction. And that's one that we categorically we're able to avoid because of the technology that we utilize, because of the demand response that we're able to implement, because of the close connection that we have with our customers and suppliers, and because of the way the business was founded.
I mean, that's certainly one way of understanding overproduction, but some may point out that last year, your company's production volume did increase nearly 60%, and that's at least, 35,000 items being produced every day? Could you help us understand from a business perspective why this amount? Isn't that overproduction?
Well, we can't conflate the showing customers many products online, lots of different styles. We can't conflate that with a lot of production necessarily of each and every one of those products. So the efficiencies that we've brought to retail is that we're able to focus on the products where there is actually demand, where we know that customers want those products. Whereas, where the way the industry has developed over the past 20, 30 or more years is that, production happens regardless of what the company knows about the demand for that product.
I understand that Shein's goal is becoming a fully circular textile economy by 2050. Could you help us understand what that means?
Well, what it means is that, for one, we want to make sure that the products that we are producing are made from preferred materials, recycled materials when possible. I talked about earlier having to begin with, 31% of our polyester coming from recycled sources by 2030, and then more as we get closer to that 2050 goal. The other thing that we're trying to do is we're using dead stock materials that were overproduced by other brands and retailers. We're using that material in order to make product for Shein's customers, so that we don't have to create new fabrics when we could just buy existing fabrics that were already overproduced. We call those dead stock in the industry. And so the more that we can use fabrics that are already in existence, they've already been produced, the less we need to produce new fabrics. So we want to grow that program as much as we can. We also want to expand the use of our peer-to-peer marketplace, which we call the Shein Exchange, which we launched last year in the United States. We're going to be expanding where that offering is made available in the world, and we hope that there'll be a large uptake. There have already been over 3 million customers that have engaged with that platform, that have registered in that platform in the US, and we hope that that continues to grow both in the US and elsewhere.
And Shein's affordability, and we must talk about this, and it certainly caught the attention. We've all seen the videos on TikTok and Instagram where influencers unbox and try on numerous clothing items. Some call it inclusive, but others kind of argue ultra fast fashion is far from cheap because someone somewhere out there is paying the real price. How do you address these criticisms?
Well, first of all, the low prices that we offer do not come from paying workers less. In fact, quite the opposite. What we've found from our own research in the manufacturers that are producing Shein garments, that these workers are being paid above the industry prevailing wage in the locale where that factory is located. And that's on average. So it's not because of low wages that products are affordable. It's because we've eliminated a lot of the waste involved in the traditional model that our products are more affordable to our customers. We've eliminated the overproduction waste that I talked about earlier. We've eliminated a lot of the waste associated with trimmings on the production floor. We've eliminated the transportation waste, a lot of the overhead. And especially, we are a company that have a very small physical footprint because we don't have brick and mortar stores. And for a business our size to be fully on the ground in a physical format, there would be thousands of stores around the world, and we don't have a single store. So that's the way that we're able to pass on those savings, those overhead savings, to our customers.
And Adam, you talked about fashion waste. Let's focus on the issue of fashion waste impacting the global south. Shein did establish the Extended Producer Responsibility Fund, committing $50 million over the next 5 years. Could you explain how this fund will be utilized to improve conditions in affected countries? And how would you address those critics who say more money could be allocated?
Absolutely. So we've made an agreement with the OR Foundation, which is a Ghanaian nonprofit based in Ghana and in the US. And they work in the Kantamanto market, which is the main market for secondhand garments in Accra. and is the largest market for secondhand garments in the world. And the Orr Foundation's work is really geared towards improving the lives of the retailers in that market and all the people who work in that market, especially the women who carry bundles of secondhand garments on their heads around the marketplace, because there is a lack of infrastructure to support, things that are more ergonomically friendly or more human friendly. So they're carrying these very heavy bales of secondhand garments that often weigh, 50, 60 kilos. And the work that the Orr Foundation does is to support those women, to help move them out of that trade into something that's more healthy and functional, and trades that they can do for a long time. The other major activities of the Orr Foundation, which we support through the grant making that we do, is to support a rethinking, a reimagining, and refitting of at least part of the Kantamanto markets, so the retailers there have an environment that's more resistant to fires and problems that are occurring there now, which are not healthy for them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure that wherever secondhand garment waste is ending up, not just in Ghana, but in other parts of the world as well, that we're doing things to support the communities that are involved in that trade.
So obviously supporting the community, but are there plans to stop the waste from flowing into the Global South?
Well, even the Orr Foundation and many NGOs don't want, and they don't advocate for waste to stop flowing into the Global South. There are whole economies that are based on the inflow of garments coming from the Global North to the Global South. And to completely turn off that flow would put millions of people probably out of business and without a way to support themselves. So we don't want to turn it off, but we do want to make sure that materials that are going into the Global South are of high quality, that they can be used in those communities and be sold profitably in those communities. And that means that there aren't soiled garments that go there and ripped garments and things of that sort.
Hello everyone, my name is Crispina,
And I'm Adrian.
and we're the hosts of a podcast called Work It.
If you've never heard of it, well, it's a good time to tap in.
In the last 20 episodes, we've discussed topics like how to negotiate for a salary increase,
Or how to get along with younger colleagues who have different values from you, which incidentally is our top performing episode.
if work consumes your life and you want some perspective on issues like management, stress, even office romance, then this podcast should be on your list. A new episode drops every Monday.
Catch us on the CNA app or wherever you get your podcast.
Well, looking forward now, there's a trend that the European Union is calling for an end to fast fashion by 2030. How might the EU's push affect Shein's operations in the region, and what sort of strategies does Shein have in place to adapt to these changes?
I think what Shein is really good at is adapting our business to the business environment wherever we're selling our products, and making sure that, of course, we're abiding by all of the regulatory requirements of that geography, whether we're talking about the US, the EU, or other parts of the world. Our business model has been successful because it offers our customers what they want at prices that they can afford, and that will never go out of style.
Since you had brought up the fact that Shein is very good at adapting to these changing environments, do you foresee Shein moving away from the ultra fast fashion concept in the future, or is this approach considered a competitive advantage that's here to stay?
We don't think of ourselves as an ultra fast fashion company. We think of ourselves as an on-demand business model and a leading global integrated marketplace, which focuses on retailing fashion and other lifestyle products. So it's not the ultra fast fashion nomenclature that's used sometimes in the industry is not really what has made us who we are. It's really being able to respond quickly to customer demands, to customer tastes and trends, and offering them products that they want, that they can use to express themselves, and at prices that they can afford.
Interesting. I also like to touch upon, how all companies ultimately aim for profitability, right? But how do you fold in sustainability priorities with companies' profit? Can it be done, especially for smaller companies? Is that even feasible?
I think it can be done, especially when these new technologies that we're seeing, whether it's chemical recycling, textile to textile recycling of polyester or even cotton or viscose fibers, as the scale of those operations increases around the world, the capacity of those factories increases and the price comes down, those will be more accessible to customers who are more budget conscious. So I do think that over time, yes, sustainability can be profitable. And when you look at, for example, we have greenhouse gas emissions goals to reduce our emissions by 25% by 2030. And the way that we're going to do that is by increasing energy efficiency in the factories that are producing Shein garments, by using renewables, especially in our tier 2, which is where most energy is consumed in the production of garments. That's in fabric mills at the tier 2 level. And in bringing production closer to where our customers live, like in Turkey or Brazil or other places around the world. And all of those things reduce the cost of production. And the third one that I mentioned reduces the cost of transportation. So all of those things are both sustainable, they're good for the environment, they're good for communities, and they're profitable as well.
Well, Adam, let's talk about Shein's goals to reduce supply chain emissions by 25% by 2030. In order to align with the Paris Agreement, fashion industries are required to reduce their global carbon emissions by 45% by 2030. And this is according to the report by IPCC. Could Shein do more?
Unlike many of our competitors, we're growing in double digits every year. And already it's a challenge. The goal that we've set for ourselves of 25% by 2030 will take a tremendous effort from the company, from our supply chain. So we feel that what's most important is to set a goal that is aggressive but attainable. And so once we reach that goal, we're committed to setting more aggressive goals in the future.
Speaking of challenges, as the head of sustainability, what are the most significant challenges that keep you up at night in your role? Is it the pressure to meet targets, the urgency of time running out, getting everyone on board? What is it?
I think it's the same challenge that I've experienced in every company that I've worked for over my career in sustainability. And it's really just getting, and this is an organizational challenge in any organization, which is getting everybody marching in the same direction towards the same goals. And that's always going to be the case when human beings are involved. We all have our own ideas, but when there's a goal that's set, everybody needs to work towards that goal for us to be successful. And that's always going to be a challenge.
And what do you envision as the next steps in Shein's sustainability journey? And what aspects are you most enthusiastic about?
Wow, there's so much that I'm enthusiastic about. We're working towards sourcing 100% forest-safe viscose by 2025. We're well on our way to doing that. That's an important piece of our sustainability strategy. We're ensuring that all packaging contains more recycled materials by 2030. The Queen of Raw and dead stock fabric, implementation and integration into our design structures and our sourcing structures, that's going to be, very exciting.
Yeah.
But, mostly what I really see as an opportunity for us is the evolution by design, is our platform that we've introduced, which promotes preferred materials and responsible manufacturing. And, that's where I see the company going.
Before I let you go, what would you like to say to those who are still skeptical that some people who associate your brand with cheap, disposable, and wasteful fashion? What do you have to say to them?
I would say that what's reported sometimes is not always what is the actual case in reality. We've done, survey after survey of our customers, and the use case that they describe to us and the data that we collect indicates that customers are not just using our product once or twice, as sometimes is claimed in the public domain. In fact, the way our customers use our products is very different. They're using them, dozens of times. And while that's still not enough, because I have clothes that I've worn maybe 100 times or more, so dozens of times still isn't enough, but it's more than what is reported. And I urge people to have an open mind about what they read and what they hear, and seek out full information before they make a conclusion.
Just one more question, maybe a personal one for you as the head of sustainability, but the expectation to walk the talk, may be quite considerable for you, Adam. Could you share some of the measures you adopt to live a more sustainable lifestyle? Any tips for our audience?
Wow. I really try to use the things that I have for as long as I can, to treat them well. If we're talking about clothes, then to wash in cold water, to line dry my clothes, to repair my clothes if they rip. You can ask my kids and my wife. You can often see me repairing my clothes at home. So, that's one thing that I think I enjoy doing. And I think we need to educate our customers to maybe take similar practices because it does lengthen the life of the products. And that's only good for the environment.
Great message to end on. Thank you very much, Adam, for your time.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thanks to my guest and thanks to everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Now, do remember to like and subscribe to this podcast so you know when the new episode drops. Leave us a message on Spotify or Apple Podcast to let us know what you think. The team behind this podcast is Cyan Nguyen, Jacqueline Chan, Joanne Chan, Tiffany Ang, Crispina Robert, and Julie Yoo, signing off.